before we get started, what I really thought about the process of how I got here, it started with Professor Long doing one of these deals. He was like, Ty, you should talk about sports. He does that stare first, right? And I'm in the back, I'm like, sports? Like, of course this white dude wants me to talk about sports. Yeah, that's my initial thought. And then I hear Dustin, he goes, man, not about catching the football, it's not about scoring touchdowns, but it's about the qualities. It's about what you learn from that experience. So I took it home with me and I sat on it. Like I said, I was mad. I'm like, bro, of course, they still want me to talk about sports. Like, that's behind me. But it really resonated on what it is that Professor Long wanted me to speak about. And he wants me to speak about my experience because, as you mentioned, you know yourself, it helps you see your destination clearly. He wants me to be able to use my experience as ammo to support my claims. And I have a lot of knowledge of being an athlete. But this is not a sports presentation. But I am here to tell you about who I am. And I am Trayvon Martin. For those of you who don't know, his birthday last week, would have been 28 last week. And he died in 2012, and I was 11 years old. And this was my I'm here moment. This was me saying, I see the value of how other people place on Black life. And I was able to see that it was legal to kill unarmed Black people. And I was 11 years old. This was, to me, what the Red Summer was to them. They fought overseas in your most decorated war unit in World War I, but they came back to a country that still was having a lynching epidemic during the Red Summer of 1919. This is my Emmett Till. This is my lynching epidemic. Like I said, this happened when I was 11 years old. So how much farther have we come? People are hanging from trees, but people are still being killed without any justification. I mentioned that I'm an athlete, former athlete, and one person that I really respect and admire is Colin Kaepernick and what he did and what he showed me. In the midst of having NFL dreams, Colin Kaepernick put a pause to all those things for me and really showed me that there was a higher purpose for myself and showed me what the platform of athletics is really about.
30 seconds.
Can you subtract a minute and a half, bro, because we started a little early. But Colin Kaepernick took his team to the Super Bowl his second year of being in the league. A couple years later, he used his platform to protest the racial injustice and inequality in America. And he ends up losing his whole entire career for peaceful protesting. And I actually wanted to ask for Lyndon this in specific. What's the military perspective of this protest? What were y'all thinking? What were you thinking? What was your thought?
I was good with it. I knew we were fighting for the right people to say and do what they want to do. That freedom to speak.
Just wanted to ask you in particular because I know you very well. Another thing, the marketing campaign, believe in something even if it means sacrificing everything. You see, I got my Nikes on. I love Nike too. But the whole mission and what this meant for me was really transformative in who I am today. 4 years later from that protest, this happens. A police officer is kneeling on George Floyd's head. I'm George Floyd too. I'm still George Floyd, I'm still Emmett Till, and I'm still Trayvon Martin. But how could we have used that platform that Colin Kaepernick, an opportunity where he was protesting, showing the world that this is what I'm standing for, that could have saved George Floyd's life. Think about it. So here's who I am. I'm MLK, I'm Huey Newton. I'm Malcolm X. I'm Fred Hampton. I'm a revolutionary, I'm a change agent, I'm a leader. That's what I learned from being on the football team. I was always a leader, I was a captain. Every year, I was a captain. I was a playmaker, change agent, game changer is what they call it. These are change agents, these are game changers. These are people who came and who made an impact. But these are all people who are dead. When I came up with this presentation, I was like, dang, I guess I'm gonna die young, right? But then I had a friend of mine, a great friend of mine named Father Kemp, who was one of my professors, and one of the professors who teaches me that it's important to own your experience, just like what you're mentioning. He says, what you're talking about is all about struggle, and that's all about conflict, but where's the compromise, and where's the transcendence? And here's an example. Because I don't have to die young to be a change agent in America. I can have a lasting impact, and this is what we're living in now. Whether if you voted for him or not, it's about what he stands for. So this is the era of compromise that we're in. This is the era of transcendence that we're in. All of us being here together during this time period in this life, during this day, we all have a responsibility to answer to the situations of our current experience. I'll be damned if I look back on my life and say, damn, 1919, Red Summer, what's my version of that? George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, what did I do for that time period? What side of history was I standing on? I'm gonna end this with a quote from the Harlem Hellfighters that basically sums up the lifestyle, and it says, this is one of their war songs that they were fighting as they were fighting across the seas. They said, if I go backward, I die. They said, if I go forward, I die. But they said, might as well go forward and die. And that's all. Thank you.